Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Ealing Road podcast. We're on today. It's a very good day. We're going to be going over a Brentford win just before the international break, 5-3 at home against Wolves at the G-Tech. Craig, how are we doing, mate?
Yeah, very happy. Very happy. Another 3 points on the board.
Good stuff. Dan, how are we?
All good. A great game to watch as well after the West Ham game last week.
Yeah, absolutely dreadful last week. But this time, you're just kind of watching it go by and it was just like, what is going on? Miranda, Callum's not on the podcast this week, but very warm welcome to Miranda, who's making her debut. How are you doing?
I'm all good. Still in shock from the weekend, I think.
Yes. Aren't we all? Just before we get into things, guys, remember to drop a comment down below, subscribe to the YouTube and Spotify channels, and also give us a follow on our socials at the Ealing Road on Twitter, at Ealing Road Pod on Instagram. Dan, I'm going to hand to you for tweet of the week this week because I've got a screenshot in front of me on the running order of 3 tweets that you have retweeted, but maybe a good kind of strategy to find tweets of the week outside of Brentford of when Brentford have just won. So I'll hand over to you for tweet of the week. How have you found these tweets?
I like to do this sometimes after a good result. So after a good result, if you put in the search bar on Twitter, either fucking Brentford or teams like Brentford, you'll generally get a lot of the opposition fans bemoaning how they've just been battered by us or how they've conceded 5 goals to us. And there was another lot as well when we scored again right at the start of the game about how we seem to score after a minute every time and how there's voodoo around the club and all sorts. And it's a reminder again of how teams still and fans of teams still underestimate us, and they still don't really recognize that actually we're quite an established Premier League team now. We have done this to teams in the past. We've done it to bigger teams than Wolves in the past, and we're very capable. So yeah, it's just a bunch of. Do you want me to read them out? There's a bunch of
Go for it.
Yeah. The crowd have turned on Gary O'Neill. Pathetic. Conceding 5 to fucking Brentford. I'd better be seeing a Wolves corner flag picture before 6 p.m. Fucking clown. 5 fucking goals to Brentford is shameless, bro. It doesn't get any worse than that. We've conceded 5 to fucking Brentford and they could have had 10. There's much
Absolutely
more.
right. Absolutely right. We could have had 10. We definitely could have had 10. But it is a good strategy. It's fun to do tweets of the week from the opposition club as opposed to our fans who normally lose their head when we lose.
What's crazy is we was doing that to them in the Championship as well. Like, it's not like they're some massive team that are like dwarfing us. You know what I mean?
I know. I do feel sorry for Wolves though, because like I said it in my preview on my channel that I uploaded on the Ealing Road podcast account. But like in the games that they've played, granted they've played like some of the best teams in the league, and they've had a really tough start, but they've actually not been completely blown away like that. And I feel like it was a weird one because I was a little bit nervous going into it because they were due a good performance. But wow, they were pretty bad. They were pretty bad. Anyway, let's just get straight into things. Who wants to start first? I was going to go initial thoughts. The kickoff glitch continues. I feel like that's the only place to start. Miranda, how did you see the opening kind of 5-10 minutes?
Well, I think that obviously when Wolves chose to swap us round and, had that initial sort of that feeling in the West Stand, everyone sort of murmuring to themselves, oh, here we go. So you sort of thought, oh, that's going to ruin our fun. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I honestly was gobsmacked. I don't even think I had the chance to take in the atmosphere because I just looked at my brother and I was like, is that really just happened again? Yeah, shame we couldn't break another record there. But yeah, it was brilliant. Again, just the start you want. And I think it sort of maybe threw off, if it was a game plan from Wolves, it completely threw them off. Well, for a couple of minutes at least. But yeah, I just thought, again, incredible.
I know, it was weird. I half expected if we'd have won the coin toss for Wolves literally just to put every single man behind the ball and just retreat into their half as a way to counter it. But obviously we didn't get it. Craig, I'll come to you on the lineup. How did you see it? Obviously, it was a big plus to have Norgard back in. Any other tweaks or any other things you would have changed, or were you happy?
I kind of, I don't know. It's a bit of a difficult one, isn't it? I kind of didn't think Yannet would start, but then again, you don't really know who else is going to kind of slot in if you're going to have Damsgaard and Fab playing together in midfield. But the front three, kind of exactly what you expect, isn't it? A front three with what we've got of KLP, Brian and Sharda, who Sharda, I know we'll go on to it, so incredibly unlucky, and maybe for his first header, but we'll go into the other chances that he's had as well. But I just want to point out on Miranda's comment there about being in only 3 minutes at the start of the game was we in front. We could have been 2-0 up before they scored their first goal in the 4th minute. There was a chance like straight away after we scored, ball in from Brian, KLP's on the back post. I mean, you probably should have done better. Probably should have done better with that one as well. It could have been 2-0 after 3 minutes. Talk about a quick start with that one, eh? That would have been like, would we have then set another new record for being goals in the Premier League? Like, what would that have been? Yeah, the team is kind of what I expected it to be. I would maybe like to see us be a bit more adventurous in the midfield, and one day just go for like a Fab, Damsgaard, Norgard midfield. But I'm not surprised at what we saw, and I thought Yana had a really good game actually this weekend. So I'm not surprised. And like Dan said in our chat, having Fab on the bench, it gives us actually a little bit of depth and strength from the bench to come on as well. So having Norgard back is massive. And he got a goal. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. I think Fab on the bench, I was a little disappointed to see him on the bench, but I think with the way that it panned out, I thought Fabio would really be key to this game if he started, but I did kind of caveat that with if Janelt is fit. And Dan, you mentioned in your immediate reaction video, if Janelt's fit, he's one of Thomas Frank's like trusted and tried players. Just want to let's go through goal by goal, or maybe just like the real chances of the game. I do want to talk about the penalty stuff with you, Craig, because I know that you were pretty strong on the shout last week. But first of all, Dan, Collins' first goal, and just Nathan Collins in general, after what happened last season and the absolute train wreck car crash that was, showed some bottles, but in the performance he did, and just like if you've watched the goal back, just the way that he drifts and somehow Wolves don't pick him up at all. Finds the only gap in their defence, but just his performance in general and his goal, Dan.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, on the goal, you can see how we're being told to get forward as early as possible to catch the teams off guard, because he picks it up, he plays a pass, I think it's to either Mbeumo or Damsgaard next to him, and then he carries on. He doesn't go back into position, he doesn't drift, and obviously it's good work between Mbeumo and Damsgaard on the right, and the cross comes into him, and it's really positive, and it's something new that Keith Andrews, as our set piece coach, has added into the team. And obviously we've had such a succession of good set piece coaches over the years, but he has still added something new, and it's something that's really working. And I mean, with Collins more in general, we already knew last year that he had good performances in him. I think this year he's added consistency to his game. He's just got to keep going with that now. I mean, we've said before that he's outshone Pinnock, if anything, this season as well, and he's been one of our most consistent and best players. And it's exciting, and it's also maybe a sign that sometimes we may be judging new signings too soon when we sign them. I think in the Premier League, you perhaps need a bit longer to bed in, especially when you're a young player. And, now we could be looking back at this signing in 5-6 years if he's still in the heart of our defence and thinking, what a great deal that was.
Yeah, I think all the Collins naysayers last season, people absolutely writing him off. And genuinely, there's a case for him being our best player so far this season with how good he's been in the opening few games.
Let's not toot his on too much, because we do know he has that mistake in him. And I know we're going to go on to it, but I am going to kind of pull him up a little bit for their second goal, which I know we're going to go on to. I'm going to pull him up a little bit on the second goal. But I just want to say, we're talking about using kickoff as set pieces. We had 4 players in the box when Collins scored. 2 of those players was Nathan Collins and Chris Ayer. Our two defenders were in the box. You know what I mean? Talk about utilising the players that you've got on the pitch and using the set pieces, using a kickoff as a set piece.
Not even our kickoff, their kickoff.
It wasn't even our kickoff. Yeah. Thomas Frank made a joke about practicing the coin toss all week, and we still bloody lost that.
You mentioned the second goal, Miranda. Wolves only, we were chatting before we started recording about Wolves. I think the possession was like 51-49 in that first half, but they didn't do anything really with the ball. But I mean, there are only 2 chances. I'm not even sure if you can call the second goal a chance, to be honest. Like, I just think that's a really, really good finish from the striker. But any concerns with either of the 2 goals that we conceded?
I think it's 5-3, so you kind of go blind to it being like, oh wow, what an amazing game. I think the third goal for me was really frustrating, just to end like that, and that's just me being really pedantic there. I think you could argue that looking at all 3, it was quite sloppy defending, like just those sort of little hints that you see that 4 centre-back model and you think it works really well at points for your attacking, your defending. You mentioned set pieces as well, but I don't know, there was just those instances where it's like, come on, get back, track your man. I think that third goal annoyed me. So I just thought that sort of spoilt the game a little bit, to be honest. But I'm not going to let it put a dampener on things. Like you said about Wolves, I did feel coming into the game that they'd had so many chances in their previous games that I really thought that they'd come at us a bit more anyway. The fact that they didn't, we outplayed them, as shown by those tweets. I don't know. I don't think the game reflected them scoring 3 goals.
No, not at all. I think Thomas Frank will be really pissed off with the fact that we conceded that third at the end, because it does take a little bit of gloss off the scoreline and suggest that it was closer than it was. Craig, you wanted to talk about the second goal with Nathan Collins. So talk about that first, and then afterwards go straight onto the penalty, because I know you were strong on that last week.
Should we do it the other way around? Should we do it in time order?
Yes, that makes more sense. Correct. Yes. More sense,
doesn't it? Right. If we talk about last week, the argument was Pinnock wasn't going to get to the ball, even though the ball bounced on the pitch. It was in the pitch when the ball hit the ground. It didn't fly straight off the pitch. So I will argue that Pinnock could have absolutely got to the ball, especially considering he's 6'4", 6'3" anyway. So he's gonna at least make some kind of attempt. And it's just bewildering to me that wasn't a penalty last week. This one, you see grappling in the box every single game in the Premier League, every single game. And we've had instances like this, even so far this season, when we haven't been given penalties, and probably again, even the other way around, where Collins, we know he can be a bit of a holder as well as the other defenders as well, and they're not given the other way around. So I'm not sure what's different about this one. But last week still does bug me a little bit. Yeah, it still does bug me a little bit. So, but I'm glad. I think that's like the first penalty that we've got in ages as well. I know there's a Twitter page out there somewhere, isn't there, which is like days since Brentford last got a penalty, and that's been reset because it was ages. And then let's go on to their second goal. It reminded me a little bit of West Ham's goal, where they're playing in and around our penalty area, and we have chances to clear the ball. Nathan Collins had a fantastic game, absolutely brilliant. I believe he got a goal and an assist. Didn't he get an assist for one of them as well?
For which one?
I feel like he got a goal and an assist for this one, but I could be wrong.
Someone tell us in the comments.
someone tell me if I'm wrong. Yeah, and I'm happy to be wrong. But unfortunately, it's one really, really sloppy pass on the edge of our box from Collins. Puts it straight out to Cunha, is it, on the left wing, who puts who puts, by the way, a fantastic ball across goal, and Strand Larsen does really well to get there ahead of Pinnock. But it's little things where like that, which means we concede really sloppy goals.
Mm-hmm.
And like Miranda said, that third goal as well, we've kind of let them have the ball in around the edge of our penalty area. And Aït-Nouri's found himself again in acres of space in our penalty area. Like, where's that space come from? So I feel like Thomas Frank, you're right, would be a bit peeved that we've conceded 3, to me, really sloppy and preventable goals. I mean, Cunha's found himself in acres of space in our penalty area for the first goal. We've done a little bit of sloppy defending for the second goal, because if Collins just levers the ball, then that goal's prevented. That goal doesn't happen. And then again at the end, probably just fell asleep a little bit. We've gone 5-2 up in the 90th minute. Probably just fell asleep with that last one, didn't we? But we need to tweak these little bits of sloppy defending that we're doing, which we did get punished for. And let's not ignore the fact that we did get punished for these little mistakes. We just have the huge benefit that we seem absolutely on fire in front of goal at the moment as well. So banging 5 goals, but conceding 3 sloppy goals. I just hope that we can tweak it, because as soon as we can tweak it, I believe that we can go anywhere and beat anyone at any time.
That's a big shout.
I mean, we've beaten Arsenal at home, we've beaten United 4-0, we've beaten City away, we've beaten City twice. You know, we can do it. We can absolutely do it. We need to get those little mistakes out of our game.
Yeah, 100%. I think Dan, I want to get on something you said in the WhatsApp group chat about Europe, but we can do that maybe a little bit towards the end because it just like I saw that message and I was like, stop it, please, because it's just I feel like the opening 7 games they have been good, they have been positive, but like we were pretty downbeat after West Ham, but there's just nothing like a win to pick you back up again. But Norgard back in the team, Dan, and back amongst the goals. Good finish from a tight angle. That was 31 seconds after Wolves' equaliser, so another goal from a set piece, you could say. But just I was watching the game back. How important was Norgard there? Because I was just watching it, and the time and the patience and just the calmness that he has on the ball sometimes. I just think he's been so missed the last few weeks.
Yeah, first, just on Craig's point, I think Collins won the penalty. So you can call that an assist.
That's where the assist comes from, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, that's where the assist comes from.
I'm not sure, though, based on how the penalty was won. Yeah, and I think the last goal as well, I think it went through Flecker's legs. So I think that may be the first goal this season that Flecker maybe could have done better. But it's a good time to concede that kind of goal where you could have done better when we're 5-2 up and it's the last minute of the game. Anyway, Norgard, he's so important to us. I think Thomas Frank said that afterwards as well. He said, I think that he raises other people's performance levels, and that, you know, he's just that solid conductor in the middle. And I think every team kind of has one. He helps dictate the tempo, and even the finish on the day. It's not something he's known for, but it was a good finish into the corner and good awareness as well from Yanel as well, who also at times is maybe criticised a little for his ability on the ball. Yanel saw him in the space. Obviously, a Wolves defender had been dragged out, and it was a great finish into the corner. And another kickoff routine. I keep saying that this won't keep happening because it just can't keep happening, but then it does keep happening. We're definitely putting the odds into our favour. And if we score like that after a minute at Old Trafford, then you can imagine how they'll react. So I'm looking forward to that in a couple of weeks' time.
I want to get on to some of the reaction coming out of United at the moment. And obviously, whenever Brentford get a big win or win like we just have, everyone starts heaping praise on Thomas Frank again. But when the actual links come, you might think the United fans would be saying something different. But with the scrutiny that Ten Hag's under right now, I have seen Thomas Frank's name a little bit too much for my liking on my timeline on Twitter. Miranda, I'm going to come to you for the last goal before half time. Are we giving that to Keith Andrews, or are we saying it's awful defending from Wolves?
I think you need to give the credit definitely to the set piece itself. Pinnock, I mean, I live with a Pinnock hater. I'm not going to lie. He's going to hate me saying that out loud, but I'll call him out on it. Every time I come home from a game, I get the Pinnock hate. So it's lovely to see Pinnock proving his haters wrong, if there is any out there. As always, just brilliant in the air. Lovely to see him get his first goal of the season as well. So that was, I think, as well. I know I've said I felt very secure during that game anyway. But when it's 3-2, then when it gets to 4-2, you just have that bit of security. So going into half time, I mean, I think we all needed a break anyway. I think we all needed a bit of like a step back, but it was really nice to have that security, and just felt like, we've got this now. That's how it felt just from half time. So
yeah, for sure. I think as well, because we've spoken about Pinnock quite a bit this season, just because it hasn't been as smooth a start as we've seen from him previously, and maybe that's due to the new style of play that we've kind of adopted this season. We're not new, but certainly we've not kind of played this expansive football since the Championship days, to the extent that we're doing now. But maybe he's been one that's maybe been a little bit slow to react to it or to settle into it. But I think even like take away the goal, and I think he was absolutely fantastic yesterday. Just the amount of times he's dispossessing Larson, who I thought looked quite good, to be fair, but Pinnock got tight to him on several occasions in the first and the second half and just nicked it off him. I want to talk about one more thing, Dan, before we talk about the second half, and maybe we'll talk about the second half and just talk about Kevin Schade in general, because there was a video that kind of went a little bit viral. But I saw it on different kind of media outlets / just normal accounts on Twitter of Thomas Frank giving a speech after full time, and someone clipped it up, and I've clipped it up as well. At the end of the video, you can see Kevin Schade in the corner looking pretty pissed off with himself. And obviously he has that 1v1 in the first half, which did look a touch offside, but the one in the second, I didn't feel confident when he went through. I don't know about you guys in the stadium, but when he went through a 1-on-1, I didn't feel like he was going to bury it. But it's just like we've said it before, Dan. It's just does he need that goal to kind of go into those situations and you think he's going to score?
Yeah, he probably needs one that he doesn't have to think about. And then you think that obviously Carvalho came on in his place and then got a tap in not too long later. And obviously, if that was Sharda, he may well have scored that as well. And, he may have felt better about himself. I mean, it's a good thing that he's disappointed in a way. Like, no striker should, be missing those opportunities and, they're not going to be happy about it. He's obviously been called up to the Germany squad in the next couple of weeks, which is going to be hopefully a good confidence booster for him. They obviously believe in him, and obviously Germany are a very traditionally strong nation. So they obviously believe in him and what he can be in the future, even if he is obviously far from the end product right now. But if you look at his attributes, his speed, his height, he has all the potential to grow into, a top footballer. I think maybe, like we've said before, he's better off on the wing. I'd rather, perhaps those chances falling to someone like Mbumo, and Sharda being able to do his thing on the wing. Obviously, he can still beat defenders on the wing in terms of his pace. And then it is just sometimes about slowing down, getting your first touch under control and your second touch under control, and slowing down just before you have to, commit to the finish, and just those technical bits that he needs to just work on.
He had a chance, Dan, as well, in the first half, and obviously stood quite close to Miranda this week at the back of the West Stand. He had a chance in the first half, not the offside one, but it was a header. He had a really good chance in the first half from a header, and I thought that he did everything right in that scenario. He got up early, and you see strikers doing the right thing and heading the ball down. Because obviously, as the goalkeeper's moving across, it's difficult to make a save like that. And Sam Johnston's got quite lucky. He stuck a foot out and he's made the save. He's doing everything right. He just can't score at the moment, can he? Sorry, Dan. Did you?
That's all right. Yeah, I think potentially maybe having him on the bench as that attacker on the bench would be a good thing for the team and maybe for him as well. I think if you think of, that front 4 or 5 and the attacking players we've got available at the moment, he's probably the one I'd most want to come on with 20 minutes to go against a defence that's tiring. And he may find he has even more space when he's fresh with 20 minutes to go with his pace in behind against a tiring defence, and he may have a bit more joy. And I think, even if he rotates with KLP on the left and KLP plays the first 60, 70 minutes and then Sharda completes a game, I think, he can grow. And obviously KLP needs to grow a bit more as well, so they can start pushing each other for that spot on the left-hand side. That's where I think, we might see the best of him as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think as well, KLP, we're going to talk about him. Good to see that Wissa's back out on the grass. I don't know if any of you saw that. Maybe slightly, he's due to come back slightly earlier than the initial prognosis. But I think for sure. What? Don't jinx it. Sorry.
Don't rush Wissa back. Rush players back before. Don't rush him back.
For sure. He's been really important to us, but things are looking up. I want to say without kind of trying to jinx it, but I want to come straight back to your Mikkel Damsgaard, Craig, because I feel like that was a real coming of age performance from him. That's probably the best he's played since I don't know, maybe Fulham at home a couple of seasons ago. But he's just been getting better and better recently. I think last 10 games of last season coming into this season, it's just every game he's just building on it. So I'll hand over to you because I know you're his number one fan, Craig.
One thing missing still, and that is a Premier League goal from Mikkel Damsgaard. That is the only thing missing from his game this weekend. Absolutely fantastic. And I was talking to a few people around me about how much better Mikkel Damsgaard has gotten off of the ball, because his defensive work is absolutely fantastic as well. I noticed a couple of times when Aya or Collins would go on their little bit of a mazy run that I did see him a couple of times stepping in to cover the position. So he's obviously trusted by the teammates as well to do a bit of defensive work. And yeah, absolutely fantastic. I'm just gagging for that Damsgaard goal. Absolutely gagging for that Damsgaard goal. And when it comes, you'll know about it, because I'm singing his high praises, and I'm just so glad that he's finally hit his stride. And I saw I saw something on Twitter the other day actually as well. I don't know if you guys would have seen it. It was about Damsgaard and how it has taken him a couple of seasons to really get into his stride. He obviously had his injury problems when he first started, but we've got a track record of that. And I think that Damsgaard's a really good example. Brian's a really good example as well, because, I mean, what's he been here? 4 years now? This is his 4th season, Brian? Because he had... No, this would be his 5th season, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 5,
2
yeah.
Championship, 2 in the Prem, and now this one as well. So,
6.
6
season. Yeah.
Bloody hell. 6 seasons. But the first season, he obviously had Ollie Watkins and Brian and Bowman. He is Brian and Bowman. And Saeed Benrahma as well. So he wasn't really the main man. So he could go under the radar a little bit. But then first 2 seasons were a real bedding in period for him. And KLP was the same. He had a really long bedding in period. This season, I think he's been absolutely fantastic. I still have a little bit of a peeve about his lack of directness, which I have mentioned a few times. And I think I saw a little bit of a change this weekend where he did venture in towards the penalty area. And I think the corner in which we scored from right at the end was him changing his style a little bit, where he did have a bit of more of a direct run towards the penalty area, tries to jump between the 2 players, wins the corner, we score from the corner. But I think Sharda, he had half a season. Was it half a season last season? Then was made permanent this summer. So he's had half a season last season and 8 games, 9 games, however many games we've had this season already. He just needs time. He needs a goal. For sure, he needs a goal to build his confidence, but he needs time. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I think wasn't Sharda 2 seasons, half a season, then full season, but injury last year, and then now.
He did his adopted.
Yeah.
Didn't he? Yes, you're right.
Just we've forgotten
that. Had him for so long, you don't even realise when he started.
I know. I just want to just on Damsgaard quickly before we move on. That little jink, when he takes it off 2 players in midair and like cuts through and then plays Sharda in for his second one-on-one of the game was just brilliant. Fantastic to see. He's got. You can tell he's got the confidence running through him at the moment, which is really nice. But like you said, Craig, just that one goal. Obviously 2 assists yesterday. And I was looking at some of his stats from the game.
That first goal, the next episode I will be on here in a Damsgaard shirt. Damsgaard shirt, that first goal. I'll be like that name on the back and everything.
Miranda, anyone else impressed or anyone else that maybe you want to criticise at all? I think Brian, despite his goal, had a fairly quiet game. There's a few times in the second half where he gave it away a little bit cheaply. But anyone else that really stood out?
I mean, we've mentioned Norgard. I think Norgard being back, for me, solidified midfield. I think that him rotating with Yanout as well, that just added to that build-up play. So he's already been mentioned, but it was brilliant to see him back. I love Norgard though, so always going to be biased there. I think Carvalho, when he came on, I know he's only on for a little bit, but obviously not just for his goal, but just that instant impact, which is quite nice. What was nice about this game was having that almost strength in depth on the bench. Like, you knew that when you saw the bench, you were like, okay, there are people that can come on and make some impact, even if we didn't need it necessarily given the scoreline. But I don't really have anyone I criticise. I mean, we've mentioned like I mentioned the sloppy defending in places, but I don't think that takes away from, I know you mentioned Flecken for that 3rd goal, but I think Yanelt as well was partly to play in terms of not
You're not allowed to talk about the goalkeeper.
I'm not blaming Flecken.
It's like your first episode, Miranda, but you're not allowed to talk about the goalkeeper like that, all right?
I said that someone else mentioned Flecken. I'm saying that it wasn't just down to Flecken. I think Yanelt had a hand to play on that in terms of not getting it away. We mentioned how we allowed them to, we invited that pressure. So I'm defending Flecken, Craig. Thank you.
Apologies.
I got away with it.
Don't talk about the goalkeeper like that, all right?
Yeah, you're the number 1 defender of Flecken, Craig, in these situations. I didn't even I mentioned it on my on my video on my personal channel for the Spurs away game. I didn't mention it on the pod because I knew that I'd get some backlash. But the first goal, I think he definitely could have done better with, for Solanke's goal, and he just parries it straight into his path, and it was straight at him. Craig, surely you have to admit that it was a P-roller from Maddison. It literally barely left the ground.
It's situation dependent, Mike. It is situation dependent, okay? You don't expect the player to scuff the shot. So when you set yourself to have to try and react quickly, and then it doesn't come at you as quickly as possible, you have to then secondary react to the first reaction that you was going to do. It's not the goalie's fault. Leave the goalie alone.
Yeah, I'll leave him alone. I'll leave him alone. Dan, I'll come to you. Just like kind of last. Anything else anyone wants to mention? I was just going to talk about just the significance of the game. It kind of went up because obviously the West Ham game wasn't what we hoped for in terms of the performance. So it did just put that little bit of edge into it. And we were speaking before we started recording. I didn't realise how poor Wolves were going to be. So I don't want to get too carried away. But at the same time, Dan, it is just a great way to go into an international break having scored 5 goals.
It is, yeah. You definitely always want to go into these things on a win because obviously if you lose, it's a long time before you can correct that. Again, our home record, which wasn't so good last season after it had been the first couple of years, is now really good again. 3 wins and a draw from, I know they're all maybe winnable games against obviously West Ham, Wolves, Palace and Southampton, but you probably would have taken that before the start of the season. And now we're looking ahead. And if you do look at our next 5 or 6 games, I think there's much more points there for us as well, potentially. So it's just an exciting time now to be able to look up rather than down. And we're already now, I think, 7 points above the bottom 3. And, the teams at the bottom in the Premier League, it's quite rare that they win games. I mean, the promoted 3, Leicester's win at the weekend was the first win by any promoted team this season. So 7 points is actually quite significant, even at this stage of the season. So it's just nice after last season that we can look up rather than down to see what we can do.
I think you said there we got like a good, nice run of games where we can expect points from. Are we including United in that run of games where we can get points from?
I certainly don't think it's a game where we'll be the favourites, but it's also a game where we can look at it and think we've got nothing to fear here.
Yeah,
there's every opportunity, especially if Ten Hag is still in charge. Even if we start well, that their fans could easily turn on them. They're not in the best place at all at the moment, and if we do play some football, I think there could be some joy. I love these games because we'll go there and we'll go there with a lot of hope. Quite validly, we're above them in the league, so there's no reason why we can't believe. And equally, if it doesn't really turn out our way, and we do come on the end of a defeat, we can sit back on the fact that actually Man United are favourites. They're still Manchester United, and it's still no real harm done. But I think it's a great opportunity.
For sure. Craig, I'm going to throw a stat at you, and I want to tweak it as well. Brentford scored as many goals against Wolves than United have all season. And in fact, Brian Mbeumo has scored many more goals than United have scored all season long. What's the stat?
You was supposed to say that exactly. I was going to say that exactly. Yeah. We also scored more goals in this game than we did in September.
That's very true. Very true. How are you feeling ahead of United, Craig?
Quietly optimistic. I think that their result this weekend has granted Ten Hag a stay of execution until we put him to the sword in 2 weeks and he loses his job. So you don't really wish for people to lose their job very often, do you? But as a football fan, you think, if we can get a manager sacked, that's absolutely fantastic.
Especially if it's the United manager.
Especially if it's the United manager. Yeah, the United manager. That's a fall from grace, isn't it? The United manager got sacked because they lost to the mighty Brentford.
Yeah.
But yeah, mate, absolutely. I think, like Dan said it spot on. If we go there and we get another quick start, their fans will get on top of them very, very quickly. I don't know if I could hack another situation that we had last season, because that was awful. Yeah. That was absolutely awful. And I don't think I'm fully over that. So I'm going into this game with a little bit of hatred for them and for us and for Scott McTominay, who doesn't even play for them anymore. I hope Bruno Fernandes gets sent off again because that would be funny. I hope that we go there and we score 6 goals and just smash the shit out of them. I've got a feeling that we're going to do really well. And I know it's going to come back to bite me in the ass after the international break. We're going to do that first episode after the international break. And you're going to go, what idiot said we was going to go there and smash them?
Miranda, I I am also quietly optimistic about it. But as Dan said, I think, even if we go there and lose, it's not the end of the world at all. But I was listening to the Totally Football show, and Jay Harris was on the Totally Football show, and he was talking about how look out for this Brentford game, because if Thomas Frank takes Brentford to United and gets a result, and United, we know that the United hierarchy will iron up Thomas Frank over the summer, they might look at that result and think, oh, well, we've just been schooled by the manager that we spoke to over the summer, or allegedly spoke to over the summer, and eyed up as Ten Hag's potential replacement. So what do you think? What do you think about that? What do you think about Jay putting Thomas Frank in the shop window? First of all, Jay, thanks for that, mate. But second of all, what do you think about that possibility?
I'd just like to think it wouldn't happen. I don't know. I hate those sorts of, we'll call it a rumour. I hate those sorts of rumours anyway. I think there is a big possibility that we win. I think it might be then the effect of that is that Ten Hag gets sacked. I think that is a possibility of cause and effect. But I don't want to see Frank's name as part of that, to be honest with you. I can't imagine him going there. I can't imagine him there. So for me, it's that world doesn't exist.
I think as well, because he's kind of said that he's got like a perfect football life at Brentford. It would be, especially mid-season. I don't know if Ineos will sack Ten Hag, given that, that hierarchy's only really been in place since like kind of July time. But it certainly feels like a mistake not doing it over the summer and getting a new manager in when they could have had a full pre-season. But for Thomas Frank, and we're speaking as if we're going to win that game, but like even if we don't win the game, if they're eyeing up a manager, it's like he's getting so much publicity from whenever Brentford get a result, you just see his name everywhere, and I hate it so much because, like you said, Miranda, it's just like seeing his name linked to any club that isn't Brentford. Fuck off. But it's just like, I don't know if they will sack him mid-season. But Dan, closing remarks on United. I'll hand you the closing remarks.
Well, we got the Wolves set piece coach stats, so I think we can start a little trend here by just getting people sacked. I mean, with Ten Hag and Thomas Frank, I think I'm sure if they found a good manager that they really wanted in the summer, they would have gone for it. Because I don't think anyone's really surprised by how they've started this season, and that Ten Hag still isn't much good. So if Thomas Frank was one of those managers they've spoken to, there's obviously a reason. I don't know whether it's on Thomas Frank's side or their side, why that didn't actually happen in the summer. So I'd like to think that Thomas Frank will at least stay and obviously see out the season with us. I think that it's a great opportunity, like I said. And after that game, we've got Ipswich, Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton, Leicester in the league. And if we can get through that period of fixtures, still in the top half, hopefully players will be coming back by the end of that, then you never know what we could achieve this season. Now, I think it's definitely reasonable with those run of fixtures that we do pick up enough points to stay in the top 10. So I'll stop talking now before I get carried away.
I was waiting for you to say Europe. I was waiting for you to say it.
And you know you want to say it.
It could be on. We'll see.
It could be.
On the
Who knows?
start of December, we'll have this conversation again.
I think that would be a good point to round off the podcast, ladies and gents. We'll be back after the international break. I might do a video on my channel at MikeLiven5 over the international break, potentially looking ahead to United, but we'll also be back on this channel with the United preview with a guest. Just before we leave, remember to drop a comment down below. What do you think of the 5 goals against Wolves? Who stood out? Let us know in the comment section. Subscribe to the YouTube and Spotify channels, and also give us a follow on our socials at the Ealing Road on Twitter, at the Ealing Road Pod on Instagram. Everyone, it's been a pleasure. I hope you enjoy the international break.
Up the bees.
There we go. I was waiting for it. Thanks, Craig.